do that, but I like that. All right, all right, all right. It is Wednesday. It is the best hour of your week. Let me go ahead and hit the horn. It is 102 in the great Kitsap County. It's 62 degrees. It is a beautiful fall day today. So glad that you can join us. Well, you know what it is. It's tipping points and puzzle pieces, and we are on episode number 84. Can you believe it? We are flowing right along. I see good afternoon, Kitsap here. I see let's talk food security, but we can't have any kind of conversation without the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mark Boatwright Frost. Let's bring him on up. How are you doing? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good today. It's been a really good day. And good afternoon to you too, Rob. Good to see you. And Justin, both on.
All right,
Um,
folks tuning in.
this is going to be another buckle up and grip it today. We're going to be talking about food security and food deserts.
Boy. All right. I'm ready. I'm buckled up.
But there's going to be a fun note at the end.
If
Sorry, my nose just started itching like crazy. Somebody's thinking about me, or is that how that works?
your
Um,
nose is itching,
yeah.
oh,
And
I haven't
Terry's
heard
on
that
board
one.
too. Yeah.
Hey, Terry.
Anyway, so Marwan's got some things put up. So let's talk about food desert and what that really means. I mean, it's a term we're hearing more and more frequently from talking heads and newscasters and such. So Marwan, you have a definition there from the Oxford Languages Dictionary.
I'm pulling that up. Just bear with me for a second. The first one here was a map.
We have a problem with the sound, Rob.
Is that what he said?
You saying that sound it a little wrong?
The sound hit a little wrong, or was I a little
Yeah,
distant?
I don't know. The sound it a little wrong. I think it's supposed to be is a little wrong.
He may be doing voice to text. Here
Ah,
we go. Here's the wiki.
okay.
All right.
No,
Yeah,
not the
just bear with
wiki. Not the wiki. The very first one, which is the just the definition of food um, desert.
Let me just put it
I
up
sent. I
because
sent. In fairness, I sent Marwan a ton of links for the show.
yes, 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 sir, you did. This is the one that I'm seeing.
Okay, no, there's actually text before that. I'll go ahead and put it in the comments
Yeah, do that
so
for
that
me,
we can see
please.
that. And let me get back to. Okay.
So as you guys know,
Okay.
while Mark is putting that up, I had back surgery on Friday. I am back. I'm supposed to be convalescing, but there's no rest for the wicked. So off we go. Got things to do.
I'm not sure if that will do all of it because it cuts off. No, it didn't get to do all of it. But essentially, a food desert is an urban area in which it is difficult to buy affordable, quality food or fresh food. Many poor people live in food deserts and they have plenty of food, but none of it healthy.
So
It's a new term in our lexicon of comments about the world. And then we can talk about put up the Wikipedia page, and we'll talk about what a food desert is in more detail, and then we can go to the atlas and show our area, and that there are actually food deserts in the Great Northwest around Seattle.
So what I think of when you say food desert, just to kind of not change the definition, but interpret it from my own
Mhm.
understanding, is where I live, the closest grocery store could be 3 or 4 or 5 miles away. But there is a 7-Eleven or a convenience store. There's a lot of bad food, if you want to quantify that or qualify that as food. But there isn't fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that in an
Exactly
accessible way.
so. It is not healthy food that can sustain a life in a quality way, and
Hey,
that's
Kendra.
if it's not there, then that's the whole picture of a food desert, the availability of fresh, healthy food. So this is the USDA, and actually, it's the next one. If you go to the atlas, but I already did the atlas to the Northwest. I think if you click, you bring up the next page that I had in the list,
Okay, this one here.
and it says atlas. Okay, actually, this is the wiki page, and you should look at the charts on the side of this one. See how the food index price index is rising.
Mm-hmm.
If you go down below, the cost of pesticides, which we probably shouldn't be using, is also rising. So cost of food is going to continue to go up. And here's the thing, here's the punchline for this. Climate change is causing disruption in growing cycles throughout the world. And yes, it is happening in the United States. There's an article in here from Georgia saying the peaches are scarce right now because the crops failed. Okay. So it's not going to give you the atlas. On the atlas, it's just it's a USDA site that talks about where food is available, and they chose the color green. This is it here. If you go over to Seattle, in that, the choice of green is it's 1 to 10 miles away for healthy food.
Try to get over there and enlarge it there. The very sensitive
Yeah, it is.
map here. Like, wow. All right.
So just up a little bit more.
I'm trying not to zoom in anymore because it is fast.
Yeah. Okay, so almost all of the Olympic Peninsula is a food desert. If you look around the Seattle, across Seattle, all those green areas in Bremerton are food deserts.
So this is where we live here.
Yeah,
you can see
no,
our
actually,
little
you
lower?
live. No, the 3 dots right here.
right
That's
here.
Kitsap County. And a lot of South Seattle right there is Kitsap County.
All right. So we can see Silverdale here, Indianola,
Yep.
Bremerton.
Bremerton is a food desert.
Wow.
Port
There we
Orchard, a
go.
lot of Port Orchard.
Whoops. Stay there. Wow. Okay. I've actually not seen this map. That's a bit alarming. Not really surprising, but alarming to see it. You know?
Yep.
Wow.
So this is all around us. This is where people of low income live that can't get food, can't get healthy food. So yes, it's in our backyard. A lot of people think it's not about us. It is about us. It's about us right here. And there's several articles that Marwan has, each talking about food scarcity locally, globally, and in different places. Here's one of the things you have to think about. It's not all about Kitsap County, because the food we get usually travels somewhere around, they say 900 kilometers, which is about 800 miles to get to Kitsap County. So something happening 800 miles away will affect our ability to have food on the shelves.
And we saw that during COVID, right? With our
Yep.
supply chain issues and
Yep.
other things that we were going through, right?
Exactly so. So that's just the pitch for money. Well, support Wikipedia, support the Guardian newspaper. They're both viable ways to get news. But the food crisis, you see the spikes in prices of fertilizers and chemicals and the shortage of foods creating more cost to the shelves. The weather is creating shortages to the shelves, which is also going to raise the costs, supply and demand. So food is going to get more expensive.
So what's the correlation between the housing crash in 2008 and today? Because we had this huge spike here.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain, but I do know that there was There was an obvious issue from that. It was a crash in the economy. Probably the commodities market was affected, and therefore the food prices were affected. But there isn't such a corollary when you're looking at commodity pricing. There isn't such a corollary when you look at fertilizer pricing, and then you look at the cost of food. So that created a fertilizer price change, but the food pricing didn't show that dramatic of an upswing. And the food pricing is the top one. So you're seeing a swing of food and a trend of food pricing going up. And we're now starting to start seeing shortages next year from crops that failed this year. And as you see that, it's going to affect people's pocketbooks.
Is there anything that we can do? This is when I was in college, globalism was great, and NAFTA and everything else. And now, there definitely is a dark side to globalism, as things can be too integrated, I think. And so we're experiencing some of the effects of that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of pieces to that. I mean,
Sure.
we tend to take a very broad brush and paint things like it's one thing is going to mean everything. There's a lot of pieces of this. Okay, so let's talk about our own issues with GMO, non-GMO. Let's talk about our use of glyphosate. Let's talk about our industrial agricultural process, which takes thousands and thousands of acres and basically is eroding the soil. And then you add climate changing into it. And let's tell a brief story about Chihuahua, Mexico.
Oh, wait, before you do, define glyphosate.
Glyphosate, that's Roundup.
What is that?
That's the poison that you use to kill weeds that they spray crops with.
Oh, like Roundup?
That is Roundup. Glyphosate is Roundup. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Tell your story.
Okay. So do you like that taste of like, weed killer in your food?
Some of it tastes like weed killer, but you said put your seatbelt on. I'm fascinated. Go ahead.
Okay. So about 10 years ago, a group called International Humanitarian Services came to the Clean Technology Trade Alliance, which I was the executive director of, and said, we have a problem in Chihuahua, Mexico. What's happening there is they've been going through almost 2 decades of desertification. And 80% of their ability to grow and provide food through agriculture is dissipated, gone, poof. And they're trying to figure out how to bring it back, because what happened there is when 80% of your income and your industry goes boof into the air, you have a whole bunch of people wondering what the hell they're going to do with their lives and how they're going to survive. So they outmigrated from Copper Canyon, which is about 200 miles south of the border, to Juarez, which is right on the border with El Paso. And they created a social problem there that the Mexican government actually did a lot of work to try and mitigate. But
really?
You had a lot of people that had no income. And when 100,000 people move in, imagine this. What happens if 100,000 people came into Kitsap County?
Well, we couldn't handle it. That's for sure.
Same problem.
From an infrastructure standpoint, water, food, jobs, housing, you name it.
So right now, I will note that several politicians and economic development people want to move 500,000 more people into Kitsap County, but we'll talk about that another time.
Hopefully soon.
We cannot support that, nor do we have the food to support that many people coming in. But in Chihuahua's case, El Paso and Juarez ended up with intense crime rates because people with nothing looking for ways to survive turned to whatever is available. And they had a lot of people from cartels there that were ready to recruit them. There were a lot of kidnapping starting to happen and a lot of very intense crime because of the social crisis created by a deterioration of the ability to grow food. Mm-hmm. So I want everybody to wrap their head around that for a second. Their desertification created an outmigration, you might even say climate refugee situation, to Juarez, where that Mexico tried to mitigate but was unable to address the scope of this problem. And you ended up with Juarez being known worldwide as one of the highest crime cities on the planet.
Wow.
So they came to us and said, "Can you fix it?" And I said, "Well, we can look at ways to put grow centers together that use less water, use land and resources more efficiently, and can start returning some of that agriculture. But it's going to take some investment, and it's going to take some thought, and it's going to take some people that know something to come together and put their egos aside and work on a problem that there isn't any money to fix."
It's also going to take time, right?
It is going to take time. It's
For
taken
you
almost
to
10 years
yield.
before they start becoming a realization. So we have a really clear example of a crisis that we could watch roll out. And then
You
we
know,
can
that,
start
that's
applying
my
that.
fear. That's
Yeah.
my fear, Mark, is that we come on every week and we have these conversations and we
Mhm.
try to impart knowledge on the community. And we have a very civil discussion. Sometimes it's put your seatbelt on, but there isn't this fire that's lit. And people really need to understand the things that we're talking about should have been done years ago, right? We're behind the eight ball. We're trying to salvage at this point.
We're busy trying not to look at the problem. We're like covering our ears going, la, 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 la. We are not looking at the problem because we have had our live, and I'm just going to be controversial as hell right here, right now. And it's not anything you guys haven't heard me said, but I'm going to say it pretty directly right now. We have had our lives, all of our lives, we have been trained to believe we're powerless. We have been messaged to think that we cannot work together. We have been so focused on Republican and Democrat and Christian and Jew and pagan and whatever else that we cannot come together. You know something? That's complete and utter BS. We are wired to work together. The only way out of this problem is to work together. No politician is going to do it for you until you work together to have a great enough grassroots force to make them do it. And that is the honest to God truth.
I'm with you.
So we have a crisis. The historically recent history happening right now, showing you what's going to happen to everywhere. When people talk about climate refugees, they're talking about you. They're not talking about, some brown person in the middle of some third world country. They're talking about you. Look at the
Can you
temperatures.
elaborate, sir?
Yeah, I'm just about to. Did you take a look at the temperatures in Arizona this year? 120 degrees. Okay? They're having power outages. You take a look at what's going on in Texas where their power and they can't handle the air conditioning. I'll guarantee you, Kitsap, if everybody had an air conditioner in Kitsap County and turned it on, we'd lose power in seconds. And it would be a while coming back. The infrastructure cannot support it. But not only is your comfort level going to be affected by that kind of heat, your ability to grow food is affected by that kind of heat. Personal story. I moved to Washington State after having I was going to say a pot garden, but people would misunderstand what I meant by that. I was growing food in black plastic pots in my backyard in San Jose. We did not have grass or earth. We had rocks and pavement in the place that we were renting. And I had corn growing. I had tomatoes, cucumbers. My garden was beautiful. It was just beginning to produce. And we peaked at 110-degree day in San Jose. I went to work after watering the garden. I came home. Everything was burnt. Wow. Everything was burnt. And I was done with San Jose in Northern California. And there's a lot of other reasons that happened too, but it's like I do not want to live in 110-degree heat. I don't want to have my garden burn up just before it produces. It was disheartening to say the least. But that's just my personal garden. This is happening in major agriculture all throughout the Southwest. You want to put up one of those, you can choose whichever one at random, but the Georgia one is probably more telling than any other one here. But
Georgia.
Georgia, the peach crop in Georgia is almost non-existent because of climate change. Remember the story about Chihuahua and desertification from heat, drying up water and water resources? And Mexico
Mhm.
doesn't have a great water infrastructure to start with. Actually, it's almost a non-existent one. If you go to the Baja Peninsula, Ensenada, let's say, and you get a glass of water, it was trucked in from a desalination plant.
Trucked in.
Trucked in, yes. You drive along the highway there, you see water trucks driving up and down the road like lumber trucks drive around here.
Let me pull this one up for now. I'm getting the other ones ready here.
All right. So this is Rivera. They're somebody who tracks grocery stores, and they have a list here of the 10 things that are going to be short on the shelves this year. You want to enlarge that, or can you read that to everybody?
Yep. Nope, I can enlarge it.
Okay. So they're saying butter, oranges, corn, flour, bread, champagne, okay, beer, eggs, vegetable oil, beef, will be and beef will be shortages because of the climate and because of failed growing seasons. Now people are going, beer, what's that about? And I said, well, beer requires hops. Some beer requires wheat and grains, and those are things that are going to be shortage. Distillers require grains. If we had a shortage in grains, whiskeys and bourbons and those types of things will be hard to come by. Champagne because of grapes. Bread again from wheat, flour from wheat, corn is a grain. So a lot of these may seem redundant, but they're ingredients and other things that will be shorted.
Yeah, but these are staples, right?
Yeah.
Flour, corn, bread, eggs, vegetable oils, butter.
So there will be shortages, and I guarantee you, if there are shortages, they are going to be more expensive because they aren't as available. So how many people do you know that can afford, let's say, a 20% larger hit on groceries?
Well, I know there's a lot of folks that can't afford their groceries as it stands now today.
Yep. So this is what we're looking at. They had a dire situation. Georgia's catastrophic peach crop failure. Now, you know what is on Georgia's license plate, right? You know what their state fruit is, right? It's the peach.
Mm-hmm.
They have crop failure in peaches. That's Georgia's identity right there. The new Jack Reacher series on Prime Video all starts and ends with getting peach pie. That's how much that is. So peaches are going to be hard to get on the shelves. I mean, we get it from Eastern Washington, but people who rely on Georgia's peaches, which are shipped around the world, are gonna find themselves coming up short.
Well, let me just read this sentence. This year's peach crop is Georgia's worst since the 1990s. Peach growers say with the projected loss of up to 95% of normal year's yield. 95%?
Yep.
Wow.
So I will provide this to anybody who wants it because Marwan likes me to have source material. But ASDA is was a wholly owned subsidiary of Walmart in the UK. They've now recently been bought out by somebody else. And they did a sustainability study in 2015 where they realized that 95%, now that number is showing up again, of their produce and food is at risk due to climate change. And this was in 2015. And now 2024, we're seeing Georgia get hit with this. And Georgia's not alone. California has been going through drought after drought after drought. Oranges in Florida have been being hit with a blight after blight after blight, and California's been hit with it as well, which is why oranges are harder and harder to find. So you're seeing the trend here of change that, we have 350 million people in this country. What happens if we can't feed them?
Right.
I mean, I would argue that we haven't been feeding them. We've been feeding them crap. But we are at a crisis. And we have to know that we cannot depend on shipments of fruit and vegetables from 800 miles away to show up.
Oh, unfortunately, the tipping point works both ways, right? A tipping point
Yep.
for good and a tipping point for bad.
And we're reaching tipping points for climate over again and again and again. And I'm not even talking about the other things that can happen. I'm just talking about climate that some people are still saying doesn't exist.
Well, here's something that kind of piqued me in this article, just reading over it. Among the policies governed by this law in the federal crop insurance program, that's a scary thought, the primary instrument by which farmers can be insured against weather events. Fruit and vegetable growers have long complained that the insurance program is primarily geared toward producers of row crops like corn and soybeans, which are harvested on a far greater scale than specialty crops like peaches, right? So what you have is you've got these actuaries that are looking and saying, hey, from an insurance company standpoint, is it a good bet for us to insure this particular sector or this crop? We're seeing it in Florida where they're now starting to not provide home insurance, right?
Right.
And now you're seeing it with crops too. So what are farmers supposed to do?
Fold up their shop and go home. Oh, wait, they can't. Yeah, we're seeing this is an economic failure that's going to continue to cascade. I think, Marwan, I'm just going to ask you this because I'm kind of thinking about it in the next couple months.
Sure.
And I think I'm going to ask that we do this in January because I think it'll be an appropriate time to do this show because people will be getting their Christmas bills. And, so I think we should do an economic program. It's the economy dummy program for tipping points and puzzle pieces.
All right. I like it.
Because there's a lot to be said about how our economy is basically more on faith than it is on ability.
I guess my only gripe with that would be that we wait until January, right? I would love to be able to change some spending behaviors and habits of people as we go into October and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Why don't we do a Thanksgiving episode on the economy?
Okay.
We'll do the Thanksgiving episode.
Because it's something that we have to break free from, right?
Yeah, it is.
Is Black Friday and Boxing Day, and
you want to change behavior of the corporations, stop buying from them.
But they're making it a necessity, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like I just didn't buy something from Amazon this week that we needed that I couldn't find locally. Right. I mean, it bites, but there you have it. And by the way, did you know that the Federal Trade Commission is on Amazon's butt about anti-monopoly or monopolistic practices? I was actually happy about that. Yeah.
My thought is I think they may be to a point where they're too big to fail, right? And we see that in some crime-ridden areas while people are going in and looting food and other things, right? You've got Targets and CVS's that are pulling out, Walmarts that are pulling out, which is going to create even more food deserts, right? And then make things even more scarce. That's going to force,
showing people how that's all connected.
Yes,
is what these shows are about. It's about it's about showing the dots. But now we're going to talk, and we're going to skip ahead because it's a half an hour into the program, and I want to talk about the coloring book that I put up on Patreon that's available for free to anybody. And it's a presentation as well about what we're doing. And so we're going to spend the last half hour talking about what to do about it.
All right, let me go ahead and pull that up.
I
gotta admit, you said that you had a coloring book. I got a little fearful because depending on your mind state, the coloring book can be really dark.
It's actually not bad. So I found this coloring book through Canva,
Uh-huh.
I changed. I made it into what I needed it to be. So I worked with someone a while back trying to get these concepts rolling through the emergency management world, and they took all of my names and changed them for them their names to give them something, but their names weren't meaningful to people. And when I make a name for something, I tie it to a successful historical program. In
Mm.
this case, Victory Gardens. Victory Gardens
Okay.
were introduced in World War One and World War Two to help people, pushed by the federal government to help people offset rationing and food shortages. Grow your own food.
Mm.
So the coloring books are all about that. Imagine, connect, create, and have fun. So let's go to the next picture, which is actually the first of the presentation. So we talk about our program, Food for All, and we talk about climate is changing and creating cycles and all the things we've just spent a half an hour talking about. So we want people to start connecting to us and help have us help them connect to their neighbors and start building community around creating food. Now, one other thing I want to say is through our industrial farming technologies, we have lost over 50% of the nutritional value of food since the 1950s. By working with people that can help you improve your soil, make it healthier, uh, and help you learn how to garden in a healthier, more sustainable way, you can grow for your own neighbor, your own family, for your neighbors, for the community, healthy, nutritious, good tasting food. And that's what we're pushing. It's the Victory Garden model. That's the team that was at Brothers last week. We'll talk more about them in a moment. Go ahead to the next slide, which is a coloring book slide. By the way, this is actually a pretty cool coloring book. And knock yourself out with it. Pull out your colored pencils and rock and roll with that. Go ahead, next slide.
I might have to print this off for Layla since she's getting on the
Yep.
plane today.
So the world's changing. It is. I mean, we're seeing this on a day to day basis. We're talking about what climate refugees look like. We're talking about food. And this is, and we're looking at what our elected representatives are arguing about and doing in Congress. And as I said, a spoiler, they're not going to do anything. Guess what, folks? We're on our own. So if we start working in our own neighborhoods and get to know our own neighbors, as scary as that is, and I know it's scary, we can do amazing things and we can start offsetting some of the worst of what's happening now and what's going to come, which is not going to be any better. It's just going to keep getting worse. So dominoes are cascading. We see that. Together, we can stop it by growing food. I love this next
I,
picture, by the way.
and I don't know if people can remember back because it wasn't that long ago when you went to the grocery store and the fruit bins and the vegetable bins were bare. Hell, the meat bins were bare. Bread was missing. Uh, it's pretty scary thought to not see full stocks of food.
And it's coming. It's coming again. So I'm dying to color that picture, by the way. So the first step is, a garden. Why a garden? Think about it. You and your neighbors get something from it.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. You get healthy, nutritious food, and it reduces the cost for everybody, as you saw earlier, of the rising cost of food on the shelves of the store that are going to keep getting more expensive as more failures happen. So you're helping everybody's pocketbook. You're creating food abundance instead of a food desert. You are I mean, everything is beneficial. There is a benefit to everybody for this. And the people who don't participate in it initially will see it benefiting everybody and they will start participating in it. This is how community grows. And you start a foundation and a practice of working together, of talking together about mutually beneficial things. And you then create the strength of a grassroots network that can and will change things that need to be changed so that we can have a better future. Politicians And corporations aren't going to change until enough people say, yeah, we're not going to buy from you or we're not going to vote for you until you do.
And I really love the each one teach one model when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to this. As you know, it took me a couple years to get started with trying to grow. I've got two. What is it? Is it harvest? Is that the term when
Mm-hmm.
you pull some crops from your
Yep.
kale, right? And it got hot and my kale burned, but it's starting to come back now. And we're gonna replant, or I may just move the planters into the greenhouse. The greenhouse is up, and then we'll do some things through the winter. So this is the first step. I'm going a little slower than maybe I would like to have gone, just because I'm tremendously busy. But
And
I have
and
so
you're
many
doing
people.
it alone. What if one of your
I,
neighbors tended your garden for you?
oh, yeah, well, I was just getting to that, right? So
Yeah.
I am doing it alone in a sense. I've got some help where I could call on you or Deanne. There's a lot of people that actually garden that can give me
Yeah.
advice and tips.
Don't
Matter of
don't
fact,
call me. Don't call me. Call Terry.
call Terry.
Call
Well,
Terry.
Deanne actually came to my house and helped me set up my kale to begin with. So shout out to Deanne, and she is going through the Master Gardeners program. And so there are people that are there. You have to be able to ask for help. I was just talking about this on one of my car casts, and it's important to ask for help. But folks can come alongside that have that expertise. It seems scary. What do I need to buy? Do I need fertilizer? Wood chips? Yeah, wood chips is actually a good idea, right? What do I do to get going? You can start small. You don't have to plant a half acre all at once, right? Just plant one thing and start there and start to expand. And through those relationships, I can grow other things that complement what someone else is growing and they have a
And
desire for, and then we can trade, right? Because you're going to have
right.
too much to consume.
Yeah. Zucchini. Let's just say
There you
zucchini.
go.
So, and we're going to be talking about that in the next section. So let's
Okay.
scan down. Um, so then a victory garden. It was called War Gardens, Food Gardens. It was a very successful program that was stopped being pushed after the war. And it's time now to make it part of our culture forever. Every community, every neighborhood should have a garden. And I've had people say, well, there's so few Bremerton, community gardens. I said, yes, Bremerton City is not going to make more of them unless you tell them to. But everybody has a lawn. I mean, in your community, somebody's got a lawn that can go away.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you want to do. You want to, and you have some people that can food for the winter. We're looking for a commercial kitchen that we can rent out for a day to bring people from different neighborhoods together to can their vegetables and put them up for the winter time. We're developing resources of people who do this that can help people learn and help people get through it.
And I would say to folks, I wasn't around during World War I or World War II. I'm
You're
not
not
a
that old.
historian. I'm not a historian, so I don't remember what was going on. It's not really interesting to me. And these are things that are lost in the detail, right? People are looking at, what happened in the war and things of that nature. But this is a huge piece. I was watching a YouTube show, and it was talking about back in the day where people's houses were kind of mixed use, right? And on their front yard would kind of also be their storefront. So you could go and get your hair cut, you could go and do this and do that. And now through our regulation and everything else, everything is pretty uniform. We've got our grass strips, and it's almost a when I think of the community building that we're talking about through Roseco, kind of reimagining your neighborhood to say, hey, that's AutoZone, right? That's Mark. He's AutoZone. And Terry is where I go to get my zucchini. And Kendra is where I go to get my spices. And this is where I go to get my health care. Right. And you've got that infrastructure already set. It just needs to be cultivated and set up. And we just have to kind of change our mindset on how we look at it.
And and we'll talk, I'm not going to do a spoiler for the economy, but having your own support system in your neighborhood, growing your own food, working with your own local network professionals and healthcare professionals and people who work on cars and people who do taxes, building that kind of network, you're going to find that really useful in the next 10 years. Let me just say. Okay, let's scan down to the last. I think it's the last slide. Oh no, not quite. But you talked about reimagining, and that's what we do. And this is what is this, a Disney thing? Because they have the they're reimagineering, which means that they're taking old Disney shows and making them new Disney shows instead of creating something new. But that's
Right.
beside the point. The future is what we're going to make it. Okay, we have to imagine the future we want to make the future we want. And to do that, we can't sit in our homes and watch YouTube and put memes on Facebook. We have to talk to other people. And what better way to talk to other people when you're growing food together, canning food together, eating food together?
And I didn't see these slides beforehand, and so I'm actually speaking ahead of the slides, right?
Yeah.
Reimagining how we used to do some things that were very effective, right? Traveling can be a hardship and difficult, right? And also has an effect on our climate, right? So these are some things that we can do where we have all of these resources and services right inside our immediate area.
And we just need to create the capacity again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think the next one okay. So these are just notes on it. It's mutually beneficial and human. It's breaking bread and fixing the future. And I think you'll like the last slide.
Grow together and grow together.
Yep.
Didn't that say gather together and grow together?
Well, maybe, but
gather and grow. Like it's a play on words, right? You grow yourself, you also grow your crops.
Yep.
I like it.
So this is where we need to head. We need to come together and do food. So connect with us. That's the way to do it. And then the last one is just a set of pictures from last weekend that I wanted to share with everybody to show what we're doing and talk a little bit about how that's going to benefit you.
Yeah, I'll pull those up in just a second. There was one slide that you didn't talk about from the World Bank, so I just wanted to speak on that a little bit there.
Yeah, World Bank is telling us that we're having a food crisis.
And what are they saying without playing the video?
Oh, I did. I read the whole thing briefly. So basically, you're going to see high food prices. It's going to continue to grow. There's going to be less food available, and this is happening not just in the U.S. So mostly people think, oh, it's happening in third world countries. We don't have to think about this, or it's happening somewhere else. It's happening everywhere. A few episodes ago we talked about it being 120 degrees in Italy and Spain, in that region bound by the Mediterranean. That's killing crops. Happening in North Africa, killing crops. It's happening throughout the world where people are not going to be able to grow what they grew before.
Yeah, that's killing people.
Yeah, that too. Thousands of people. Okay, so this is our board member, Matthew, and this is his front yard. I've tried to walk through there. It's pretty scary. But there's
Snakes?
a water guard. No, just, Washington doesn't really have much in the way of snakes, but it's just tall and brambly and grabs you and stuff. But it's essentially about 12 feet by 12 feet is what he assumed. If you go to the next slide, you'll see him measuring the other way. And he's donating his time and his yard to create a community garden over off of National.
Okay.
So that's the yard we're going to start with. If you cruise down, Crystal, who is, this is Matthew's also a solar guy. So he wanted to do a shade analysis at different times of year, and that's what this is. It's showing different times of year what the shade is going to be. So when he plans to grow, he can figure out what grows best when.
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, I need him to do that for me.
Yeah, there you go.
And so what he'll do is just move his crops, or move more,
or grow more shade crops in this time of year, more hardy full sun crops in this time of year.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, I love it.
So he takes it from. Okay, so Crystal, another one of our board members who's studying soil health
Hmm.
and is showing what can happen with land that was barren and in bad condition if you start bringing the microbes back and creating healthy soil. So these three pieces of property went through and are growing what Matthew's property is about to go through.
Okay.
Okay. And so when his property is done, he will be able to grow. Now Matthew's going to be doing a permaculture garden, which means that complementary plants to feed the soil and provide food at the same time.
So that's what permaculture is.
Yep, in a very simplistic way. So this is Brothers Nursery off of Victory in Port Orchard,
Hmm.
and this is the Hobbit Hole, which is where we met and took a lot of the pictures. So if you go to the next one,
I will, but what's the name of the red flowers?
I have no idea.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Terry, do you want it? If you know, please put it in the comments. So this is the Hobbit Hole. They actually do have a Hobbit Hole you can go into at the nursery, and so that's kind of where we gathered to start the tour. And if you go to the next slide, that's the our team, which you saw earlier.
Yeah, I didn't get to go. I was recovering from surgery.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo.
So Crystal is the redheaded lady on the right. Terry is right underneath my arm. That's me. And then that's Matthew. And we all went to Brothers to start doing some planning and looking at things that could go into his yard after we do the destruction, which is going to be an organic, natural way of rehabilitating the soil.
Did you say destruction? Was that the word you used?
Yeah, basically we're going to kill all of the surface plants and rehabilitate the soil.
Now, how do you kill the plants? Just out of
That's
curiosity.
that's a Crystal question.
Ah, okay.
So that's Crystal and Matthew. When I put this up on Facebook, I said very important planning meeting.
Just an odd place to have a meeting.
Actually, it's right in the middle of two sections of vegetables that are on tables where you can choose what to grow.
And this is still at the Hobbit Hole?
This is on at Brothers Nursery. Yes, this is when we're actually walking around Brothers Nursery.
So
To
customers can use that honey bucket?
yeah,
Wow, customers actually have access to a restroom.
yeah.
Sorry, that just dropping a little
It's
salt there for the
it's
city.
it's okay.
Look
So
how
next
easy
slide.
it is.
Yeah, right there. So the whole point that we're pushing forward is have fun, create community, eat well, and enjoy the journey. Yeah, shit's coming down, okay? But by coming together, we can mitigate a lot of it and we can have fun, we can eat well, and we can do what we naturally feel and are driven to do, which is create community. Into
Oh,
my
I like,
sermon.
and it can be fun, right? I think this is
Yep.
great for youth, right? Of all ages. Get them. You laugh.
No, I was looking at the comments.
Oh,
Terry said that the red flowers are, she believes they're asters. And
uh-huh.
Justin is throwing a bit of shade. So I was being amused. I kind of glanced over and noticed there were some comments coming up.
The chat was going crazy. Nice.
Yep. So
I like
I
it.
do want to, while Justin's mentioning this at the moment, Saturday at 10 o'clock to noon, we're doing our meet and greet at Cups Cafe. We're going to have quite a few people, I think, showing up from the garden stuff and everything else that's going on. And then the Res Echo board meeting will also be at Cups Cafe. And while it's not generally open to the public, come by and say hi. And we hopefully will all be there, or at least a majority of us will be there.
Terry's laughing.
Yeah, laughing till she cries. All right, so here's the thing. I don't have a magic wand. I don't know anybody who does. I can't do everything myself. I can't get out of the seat and go grow gardens for all of you. But we are developing a core team of people who have done it and will be doing it all the time. we will make these people available. We just applied for a grant, and a portion of that grant is going to go to tools that we can help lend people, for seeds to help garden people, for things that we kits that we can help people assemble raised bed gardens. We want to be a resource for that. We are having conversations with some of the master gardeners to become part of that resource. We're talking to people who understand about bio diversity and creating healthy soils. Crystal is taking classes in that to help people. We're trying to create a community resource for the neighborhoods to make it easier for everybody. But it's going to take you to reach out to your community. And we can even help teach you to do that. But you need to engage.
And I would say, me being a whatever is before a novice, I do feel that I have the support. I can pick up the phone. I've got a lot of folks that I have access to that can help me, that are willing to come over and get me started, help me get back on the right track if things start going to the left. Justin asks, is it Cups Cafe? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Pacific at 4th.
And so my thing would be, don't be afraid to start and don't be afraid to fail.
And you learn from every failure.
Mm-hmm.
We have this weird sickness in our culture where we're afraid to fail, which means we don't learn new things. You only learn new things when you are risking failure.
Well, it feels uncomfortable, right? And there's a money cost associated with it. So it's like, hey, I already can't afford food. Now you're saying to buy these things so that I can start a garden. And, this is investment, right? It's compounding interest. It's the whole economics class, right? These are all things that kind of go into that. And it doesn't have to be just with currency. It can be with food and food security.
Labor, you have a neighborhood, somebody will get seeds. Somebody will provide seeds. There's a seed library at the library. You can get seeds to grow. You can garden with your hands. You don't need a lot of special tools. Maybe a shovel or something, and hopefully we'll be able to have a lending library to help you do that. Or we put a work party to go over and help you set up. Mm-hmm. But there's resources. We want to make this easy for you. We want to make it so everybody is doing it. And once you grow vegetables, guess what? You have seeds for the next crop.
Man, I've got all these ideas going through my mind, creating a database of different growers here in the county and what they grow and what their excess is, what their needs are. Like, hey, I don't know if people grow carrots here, but I grow carrots. But what I really need is some zucchini. If I just knew a great zucchini grower.
Kitsap Fresh.
Kitsap Fresh?
Kitsap Fresh are a conglomeration of farmers that deliver food to certain points around the county so you can get your CSA, your customer supported agriculture or community supported agriculture. But they have their hands onto that, and they also do a lot of gleaning for the food banks.
Kitsap Fresh, you say? I'm just going to pull it up so people can see it because I don't know anything about Kitsap Fresh.
Ronnie and Aaron Smith, and Aaron and Ronnie Smith, however they go, Smithfield Farms started it. And it's basically a in-county delivery service for food and produce, supporting the farmers. Really? I was at a Kitsap Community Agricultural Alliance meeting 3 years ago, and they said only 3% of the people in the county even know that there are farmers markets here.
Only 3%?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we need to change that.
Yeah. Well, we need to have food in our own backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So you go into Kitsap Fresh, you can place an order, and they will deliver it to their. I mean, this is one of the things they do. They place orders. They will deliver it to a place near you. I know that Slaughter County Brewery and Port Orchard is a drop zone where you can go pick up your groceries. So they deliver. They have runs of vans going to different places to deliver, but they also provide a service of gleaning. Justin, you said,
let's see. Slowly rising and talking. It's a bit expensive too.
Farmers markets. Yeah, farmers markets can be, but working in your own neighborhood, is beneficial. Now, in Justin's situation, he doesn't. I correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but you don't live in a neighborhood where people can grow things. But if you provide labor to them, you should be able to glean some of the food. But a lot of the I know Paisley Gallagher
Mhm.
drives the gleaning effort in Kitsap County, and she has people that go to the farmers markets and go to different places and glean fruits and vegetables for um, the food banks.
Yeah, shout out to Paisley. Pre-COVID, Paisley
Mhm.
would drop off just boxes of fruit with us when we were uh, at our program. We were serving people that were food insecure, and we were able to put that in our meals. We were able to give them fruits and vegetables. There was so much, and just having that conversation with people that have apple trees and other fruit trees in their yard, and that they're just letting the fruit drop and fall to the ground, not doing anything with it. Like, hey, that's good food. So much food, so much food. Shout out to her.
So yeah,
One
the
other
glean.
thing, Mark, one more thing I was going to say, just from an
Sure.
economic standpoint, right? I was saying earlier, right? The investment in the tools is, you reap it on the other side, right? And it compounds because you buy a shovel, you have a shovel, right? You get to continue to use it. But that's also with your health. And we have to retrain ourselves. Yeah, some of the food might be a little bit more expensive. Farmers markets might be a little bit more expensive, but it's also what you eat is also your health. Getting you out of eating the box food and the frozen food and eating the fresh vegetables, healing through medicine, right? Foods do a lot of good things for us, and understanding that. And so that's also an investment in our future and in our kids' future to feed them nutritious foods that are giving us vitamins and minerals and things that
Mhm.
we need that are stripped out. Like you said, we've lost 50% of the nutrients in our food. And so that too is an investment. So when you start stacking all of that up and you're saying, hey, by choosing to eat this way, I spend a little bit more physical money, but I save some physical money on the other side because I'm not getting as sick. I'm not having these issues. So I just wanted to add that piece in there.
Right, and
That's
when
a
you're
hard one to
yeah,
conceptualize.
and when you're growing your own, you reduce your costs
Hmm.
in no matter what you're growing of your own, I guess. Um,
And Justice says, my situation is very weird. I've had construction in our front of our house, inside house, road construction, but also the backyard was taken out because the owner is building more.
okay, yeah, say, but if we can get the whole neighborhood growing and people are adding to that, it becomes part of it.
Hmm. Terry says, very good point, Marwan. Yeah,
Yep.
and maybe you just do a little bit. For me, I'm a Mark may not know this. So I am now purchasing my food through HelloFresh.
Okay.
One, I don't like to cook. Two, I need to get out of Eggo waffles and some of the other things that I consume. And it's a bit expensive, but it puts all the meals together. I get this handy little card that says, this is the onion that you should have, and this is the zucchini, and this is what you do, and how long, and all that good stuff. And so I'm learning to infuse flavors together, make meals that I would never cook, I've never cooked before in my life. I don't have a lot of food waste because it's portioned out, and it's great. And it's also set to be done within an hour
Yep.
per
I
meal.
don't judge. My daughter, who's an excellent cook, who was raised cooking, also uses HelloFresh.
Mhm.
So
And
no
I'm not
judgment,
endorsing it.
no judgment from me on that.
I'm not endorsing, but again, I'm a busy person,
Hmm.
right? I don't have a significant other that loves to do that stuff. I do need to eat, but I also need to
Eat
not throw
better.
something on a flat sheet and throw it in the oven for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And you cannot live on fried chicken alone.
I'm not a big fan of fried chicken. I just learned how to actually fry food last year. I could not keep the skin on the chicken or the pork chop. So deep fried pork chops are my favorite. That's like my birthday meal, but I can't make them. So and I don't need to eat it anyway.
Right.
But at the same time, that's a good way, right? So as you can see, kind of you're looking through me vicariously, right? You're watching, I'm trying some kale. I'm using HelloFresh. I'm doing a little things here and there. What that's going to allow me to do is stop using HelloFresh here probably in about a week or two. And the cool thing is when you're kind of subscribed and getting the meals, you can actually download all the recipes. Yes, you could just go and you could buy a cookbook. These things are already there. But what works for you, right? It happens to work. We all got to find the thing that works for us, and it's going to be different from other people. So now all of a sudden I can just grab the sheet and I can say, okay, I need to buy these things, and I have it. And what I'm noticing is, oh man, I need an onion for 5 of the 8 recipes. I need garlic for half of the recipes. So now as I'm buying that, I'm saving.
Thinking about garlic, and we're going back to something we talked about earlier, is having something to move you forward. So with Matthew's Garden, we're doing basically sheet mulching for the garden. And again, I don't know exactly what that is, but
okay,
but we're gonna leave an open space there of about and clear it, and we're planting garlic there because garlic needs to be planted now.
Really?
So I went to Brothers Nursery and I bought 3 cloves of garlic, of different garlics for Matthew, and I have 3 cloves of garlic, different garlic for me, and I'm going to be planting in my front yard 3 different varieties of garlic, probably 14, 15 plants to grow garlic, so that in around July, August, I will have fresh garlic to use in my cooking.
Wow! So you cook it now, and you won't get it for another 10 months.
Yeah, you put it in the soil before winter. Before winter. And it preps to grow during the winter time, and then during the summer it comes up.
Okay.
So basically, you get a clove of garlic. All of those little the little cloves in the bulb are seeds.
Got you. Okay, so you'll get another. Was it clove? Is it bulbs or part of the clove?
The bulb is made up of cloves.
Is made up of cloves,
and
cloves, every clove will make a bulb,
right?
And so you bought what, enough to have 15 bulbs?
I bought 3 bulbs, 1 of each different types of garlic.
Gotcha. So
I got a
clove might have like 6 or 7 bulbs on it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. See, so and that's not really difficult. You could do that in your windowsill, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted.
You'd have to have a fairly deep trough because you have to have 12 inches deep for the garlic to grow.
I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. Go ahead.
What? Oh. Okay, and that's our show today.
And hey, you started it off earlier
just
today.
Remember, size matters. The bigger the bulb, the more the garlic.
I'm just gonna take a sip of water. I'm a good boy.
And it's out his nose.
Well, you said we were gonna end the show on a high note. I can't think of a better high note to end the show off of. That's one of the things I like too. We have some really serious discussions that can be pretty dark. But we're optimistic at the end because we have power to do something about many of the things that we're discussing.
We have resources, we have power, we have a plan. What we need is you people. Y'all.
Yeah. I think that's the final word. I think we're going to drop it there. We're a little bit over time. But man, as always, we appreciate you tuning in to the most consistent show probably in the county, right? We're just going to claim that. But this is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. Gardening brings out the best. Yeah, for sure. Your host, who is ever here, Mark Boatwright Frost, myself, Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We will be back, everyone, at 5:30 for our city council meeting. Tonight is the night that you can make public comment. So whether it's about housing or homelessness or whatever it is, please make your voice heard. Because if you don't make your voice heard, change can't happen. All right? Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. We'll see you next